everybody, welcome to another episode of Widgets and Wonders. This is my weekly show about great products from small companies. Now today we're going to be taking a look at a pretty unique thing. I haven't seen this before and I got to check it out, and it's textured base rollers or rolling pins from Greenstuff World. Now Greenstuff World is over in Spain, and what they've created is a way of taking clay of any sort, so it could be two-part epoxies like Greenstuff, or something like Super Sculpy, and adding texture basically in an unlimited amount, 6 inches thick, by using a roller. So I've got 3 of them here to show you. We've got a deck plating, sort of a diamond plating one. We have sort of, I would say, a hexagonal infinity style one, sort of glossy futuristic one, and a cobblestone one. And what I've done is I've shown you, and what you'll get to see is 3 different types of preparation and some various stages. And I'll give you an overview of how they work, but I've prepared 3 bases, like start to finish, and I've got some work in progress ones for you to see, and I've also prepared another application for it too. That was pretty cool. So enough of my dithering, let's take a look at the texture rolling pins and some sort of like finished product, what it would look like using it from Greenstuff World. All right, so here we go. These are the texture rolling pins. Now, these big guys right here are 3 of the different options. Now, there are more, but these are the 3 that I've got to show you today. Now, we've got this one, which is the Cobblestone, and here you can see a finished cobblestone base. I painted this with my airbrush, and I also used some dry brushing and some thin washes to give it sort of a green and brown effect afterwards. We have some deck plating, and these I did as rusty old deck plating. Now these are all 32 mil bases, so these would be Space Marine size bases when they're done, and these are all in Super Sculpy. And then we've got this one, which would be the Infinity sort of glossy tech base done as well. And these are all start to finish finished. Now these 3 that are done are all in Super Sculpy, so they'd be like this when they were baked, and they're all on wooden MDF discs. Now the reason you do that is Super Sculpy is basically an air dry clay, and typically you'll bake it in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes at 250 degrees. And what that'll do is that will cure and finish your Super Sculpy. Now, you don't even have to glue it down. I just applied it with a roller directly onto the base, and these are pretty much indestructible. They're not gonna come off at all. They're baked right to the disc. And the reason you use MDF is if you use a plastic base or anything that could potentially melt under that temperature, you're not gonna get a finished base, it's just gonna get wrecked. Now they said there could be kind of a campfire smell when you're doing it. I only noticed really the smell of the Super Sculpy being air dried, which was kind of like a vaguely metallic sort of smell, almost a chemically smell, but like it was super faint and it was gone as soon as they cooled off. It was just the smell of the hot clay basically. And these are really durable. You can drill them. I've worked with Super Sculpy before. Typically, its big drawback is you have to bake it afterwards, but using MDF discs for bases, and there are a ton of companies out there that do MDF discs and bases that you can buy in any base size you need. You can literally put texture in an unlimited amount on anything. Now, they are base rollers, right? So what you do is you'd get some of the Super Sculpy out, you'd apply it to the base, smush it flat, and then using the roller, you're gonna roll on the base. Nice and firm. You want to try and get the Super Sculpy a universal sort of thickness. Like you want it all in one direction, because any inconsistencies in height will show up in the base later on. And then you bake it afterwards. Now you have to trim the edge. So what's going to happen is when you squash it with the rolling pin, it's going to go over the edge of the base. That's a good thing, because using a sharp knife, you can just gently trim around it and cut off the excess. And that's going to give you the nice tapered edge that you have here on the Infinity one, or any of these other ones here too. Afterwards, the Super Sculpy I primed. I used a Rust-Oleum Painter's Choice paint and primer in one of brown. And it didn't fully dry. I don't know if that's an interaction with the Super Sculpy. It dried fine on the MDF base. It remained a little tacky on the actual Super Sculpy. Of course, using it on the putty, as long as you let the putty cure for 24 hours is fine. And I'll talk about the putty in a second. But once I dry brushed it and washed it and stuff, there's no stickiness at all. It's all covered by the paint. So I think that was just a drying thing while the Super Sculpy was drying. So yeah, so for this stuff right here, which is the Super Sculpy, you're definitely, and the Greenstuff World actually sells that too. So they sent me a test size, but you can make a ton of bases out of these. And like I said, these are all 32 mil, so they'd be perfect for the size of Space Marines. Now, the next ones down after the Super Sculpy ones, these are standard 25 mil bases that I rolled on with Greenstuff. Now with the Greenstuff, there's not gonna be any baking process, right? So what you're gonna have is a dot of super glue in the middle of that blob of putty. Then you're gonna smush that putty flat, and what you wanna do is you wanna coat the putty with something afterwards. I usually use chapstick, honestly, because it's just the amount of like oil that it needs to not stick to the rolling pin, and then you roll the rolling pin on. These two turned out exactly the same as this, and they're fully dry. Just did this one, so I'm not going to touch it too much because it's not quite as dry as the other ones are. And the deeper the cut, the more important it is that you have the oil on there, some type of like lubricant to keep the putty from sticking to it. So that is the one danger. The rolling pins could get putty stuck in them. And it's just regular 2-part blue and white epoxy putty. So anything that you've used before for sculpting miniatures or for doing bits and accessories on miniatures. And the next idea I had, because it wasn't for bases, was actually these are going to be some Kings of War movement trays for my ogres, was sculpting on some bits of old road. And now normally I would do a lot more of this, and I've already wood glued down these rocks because there's gonna be rocks on them eventually as well. So it meant I could only put it in certain spots, but I used the leftover putty I had from doing the last couple bases and just threw down some bits of cobblestone. And that's, I think, something really cool is you could do any size and any shape. Now, if you wanted to make a road, you could literally roll out Super Sculpy on a piece of sort of like the right size cut MDF and then bake it, and you could make a cobblestone road that went into infinity. So because you just keep rolling, right? So as long as you've got your Super Sculpy put down the length of the road that you want, you just roll the rolling pin on and you've got that road. So you can make sidewalks, you can make roads, you can make all kinds of things with it. The same goes for the deck plating. So if you want to put deck plating on a diorama, any kind of piece of MDF, if you want to bake it, or you can just use Greenstuff and let it air cure like normally with epoxy putty, that's fine. So these are really neat. It's super innovative. I'd never seen anything like this before. And what's exciting is I'll be able to make bases for all my Frostgrave guys into infinity. This deck plating is the exact deck plating that my Toha's using. So my Toha are going to get bases made out of this eventually. That's actually what this is for right here. And I've already based some Toha guys in it too. And these infinity bases, I'm not sure. I would do Aleph, I think, with these. Or maybe actually, you know what? I'm going to do Combined Army. That's what I'm going to do. My Combined Army is all going to have this one as their basing scheme, I think, because that looks super, super cool, and it would be fun to airbrush a bunch of those bases. So there you go. I got 3 applications for these, and when I do my onyx, I think it's going to be red and black, or like red in the cracks and then gray everywhere else. That's what I'll do. My onyx will be based with this one right here. So you'll see more of these in the future. So yeah, check them out. There'll be a link in the video description below. So there you have another episode of Widgets and Wonders on the books. This time it was a really neat little invention for doing textured bases and base sort of accessories or scenery stuff from Greenstuff World. Now, if you know of a great product from a small company that you think is not getting enough attention, you can either have them email me at guerrillaminiaturegames@gmail.com, or they can send me a Facebook message on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/outofthebasement into the streets, and I'll do my best to get them some attention. It's a really brave thing to make something and put it out there for people to buy, and I think it deserves all the recognition it can get. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week for another Widgets and Wonders. Until then, Ash.